Best known for its brutal and bloody roots, Mortal Kombat has risen from the ashes and evolved thanks to NetherRealm's success with Mortal Kombat 9. After an array of poor releases and an overly convoluted narrative, the much-needed reboot allowed newcomers and veterans to experience the new storyline from the beginning. With an emboldened story and mechanical upgrade, does Mortal Kombat 10 continue with its upward ascent to victory, or fall prey to the shadow of its predecessor?
Cute outfit. Looks better on me. Even with your blood on it?
Continuing where the previous games left off, MKX doesn't take advantage of the near-future events following MK9. All the build-up ends in an anticlimactic battle that sends the narrative 20 years into the future. The story jumps around the timeline, resulting in a poorly paced and unfocused tale. It does its best to integrate the new cast of heroes, most of which are the offspring of classic characters. But when the plot revolves around such an apathetic cast, the end result is that the audience is given little reason to care about any of them. In the end, the storyline fails to engage that the way that MK9 did, but to be fair, MK as a franchise was never revered for its narrative.
Round 2.
Fighting games in many ways are less about their characters and stories and more about their mechanics. The new characters add a nice mix with subtle differences from their inspirations, while veteran fighters are given a special treatment preventing them from feeling completely rehashed. The combat is as robust as before, perhaps even better, with variations in character loadout styles. The interactive environments from Injustice return, presenting another layer of strategy to the combat besides the environmental fatalities seen in the past. The levels are given the needed treatment to be called next-gen, but the lackluster amount seems a bit off for a next-gen debut. All around, the combat has seen an improvement, which wasn't an easy thing to do seeing the success of Mortal Kombat 9. A new faction mode has been implemented to persuade players to work together in an online competition. Once the given time frame expires, the faction with the most amount of points receives custom tag items, XP, and coins. The losing faction do receive some compensation, but the rewards are not as good. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're completely involved since players are not forced into competing, and the fact that any commitment isn't needed makes it less meaningful. The different tower modes are back along with the Test Your Might minigames. Online multiplayer brings back the standard modes with both team and faction battles integrated, with little success if you're playing alone. The online is as good as before, with connectivity issues only arising when your opponent has a horrible connection, but it's usually not an issue even if their ping is at 1 bar. Brutalities are back and retooled in terms of execution. Certain criteria must be met within the bout, and when done correctly, the match ends in hilarious fashion, humiliating your opponent if pulled off. Fatalities and X-rays are bloody, brutal, and amusing as always, making them a treat to execute, especially when you've unlocked them all. Speaking of unlocking, the Crypt returns as a maze/store, with simple puzzles blocking the many paths available. It's a grind to farm the needed coins to unlock everything, but fear not. Like most modern games, you can fork over real cash to fast-track the process because everyone likes it when free-to-play game design finds its way into AAA games. If that wasn't irritating enough, a season pass with 4 new characters and a few skins is available for the absurd price of $30. How those items are worth half the value of the game itself, we will never know. Mortal Kombat portrays gore and brutality like no other, but tends to come up short with character model details. Much like Injustice, the cutscene models look extremely bland, and the artists at NetherRealm seemingly like some characters more than others, as there seems to be a disparity in quality between certain characters. As a next-gen game, the tech power doesn't appear to be utilized to its full potential when compared to other much larger AAA games. Mortal Kombat 10 may have strayed in terms of narrative, but the combat took another step forward. The subtle changes in the mechanics were enough to keep the proceedings fresh for yet another round. The fatalities are crazy, the many modes increase replayability, and the brutalities add more to the insane mix that is Mortal Kombat. Whether you're into fighting games or not, MKX is entertaining for both newcomers and veteran. As it's always been for the series, come for the blood, stay for the combat, and then stay some more for the chaos.